Evening. Welcome to the Monday, March 4th, 2024 meeting of the Fitchburg School Committee. I call this meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. So I ask anyone in the audience who's recording this meeting to please identify yourself for the record by stating your name and city of residence. Seeing none, I now ask at this time that all electronic devices be placed into silent mode. Thank you. I'm going to do that too. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, now we have a request to have a motion to take item number 7, Superintendent's Report for the Taekwondo demonstration, out of order.
I'll make that motion.
Second? Do you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance first?
Order and salute the flag.
You want to come back in after?
Yeah, we can come back in after and do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion to take number 7, Taekwondo demonstration, out of order?
Second.
Motion and second. Do we have, I can take this under unanimous consent?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. That is approved. So Superintendent's Report, Taekwondo demonstration.
Thank you. Just quickly, our secretary this evening, Judy Greenleaf, is actually remote, so she will be taking notes remotely today. Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
So this evening, we have a really special treat. The principal from Rheingold, Miss Anna Hill, contacted me, and she said I had an eager group of Rheingold students that wanted to come to school committee to talk about and share about Taekwondo. So they're here this evening. So I'd like to welcome Miss Anna Hill quickly to say a few words, and then we will hand it over to Master Kim.
Not hooked up, I don't think.
I think you're okay. Yeah, you're loud enough.
All right, so I first wanted to thank you all for setting aside a few minutes this evening for our students to share their newly acquired talents. Thanks to the donation of time and skill by Master Kim and his staff at US Taekwondo. Through their generosity over the past several years, many students who may not otherwise have had the opportunity to learn the culture of this sport have been able to do just that. The 8-week exploration included technical training, of course, but also life lessons in respect, humility, perseverance, self-control, and honesty. So with us tonight, we have students who have taken Taekwondo before and students whose first exposure was at the start of this calendar year in January. They made strong impressions on our specialist teachers, without whose partnership, adaptability, and facilitation, this program could not be possible. So demonstrating for you tonight from Rheingold are Abel, maybe give a wave, Abel, Kyla, Markel, Milo, Libby, Alice, Kelsey, didn't make it, Abaya, and Dexter. And the demo team, which includes Rheingold alum, as well as others from the Fitchburg Public Schools, and others from within the surrounding community. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to all of them.
Very nice to meet all of you. My name is Grandmaster John. First of all, we'd like to say thank you to having us here to do the demonstration. And Miss Anna here just said we are teaching Taekwondo in the public school right now in Fitchburg Rheingold School. We take the special time, right? And then we teach 4th grade right now, 120 students at once. And then these are students, just part of them, and they're going to show a little bit of a demonstration of what we're learning there. And also tomorrow morning, we have their belt graduation. They are going to very first the white belt level, going to the yellow belt level, and then we are already inviting their parents, and they're going to come to see how much they improve it. So here, everybody in the town, they're welcome to. Is it okay? They can come. Everybody is up to
Maybe just the 4th grade.
Mostly their parents, but they are welcome to be there. Check it out how much they improve. Again, we'll do our best to make that show tomorrow our best, right? Let's begin. Everybody, stand up. All the demo team 2 steps back. Right there is good. And all the students are running over 3 steps back. All right. 2. Okay, first, all of you here in the front, running over. What each other says?
Feet together, hands by side, look straight, don't move your head by side.
Is your best voice?
Yes, sir.
I know you didn't have dinner probably, that's why. One more, the bigger voice, what each other says?
Feet together, hands by side, look straight, don't move your head by side.
So this is the very first stance we want child stance, that means attention. They're not going to move on until I say something else. After I say child, they're going to be like this. Even like an hour and 2 hours, they have no problem. See, they're not even blinking their eyes. This is how much they are well trained. Look at him. Wow. Beautiful. Okay, everybody together, what each other says?
Feet together, hands by side, look straight, don't move your head by side.
Everyone, how about we have a little bit more space. So face me.
Yes,
Face right.
Yes, sir.
Face me.
Yes, sir.
10 times jumping jacks. Begin.
2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps, 7 steps, 8 steps, 9 steps, 10 steps, 8 steps.
Face front again. And Chayan.
Yes, sir.
All of you in the front. Let's begin countdown motion 1 to 10. Are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Again, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Countdown motion 1 to 10. Begin.
1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step, 5 step, 6 step, 7 step, 8 step, 9 step, 10 step. Thank you, sir.
Give it again. All of course, residents, these moves together tomorrow morning. Okay. How about everybody together? Countdown motion 1 to 10. Ready? Begin.
1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step, 5 step, 6 step, 7 step, 8 step, 9 step, 10 step. Thank you, sir.
And so all of you in the front, kicking stand to me.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see who got the serious face. Oh, they scare you now? You should be not scared by them, right? Taylor!
Yes, sir.
Hold on, kicking to me. Show me your number 1, front kick, get ready. Begin!
Front kick, side kick, yeah.
One more time, Taylor.
Yes, sir.
Don't forget tomorrow's our graduation. You should focus. One more time, kicking to me.
Yeah.
Front kick, side kick, get ready, go!
Front kick, side kick, yeah.
Taylor!
Yes, sir.
Give it again! Sticking to me!
Yeah.
Front kick, roundhouse kick, yeah, ready, begin!
Front kick, roundhouse kick, punch, turn. Front kick, roundhouse kick, punch, yeah.
Taylor!
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
That makes it a little bit higher. You're kicking higher?
Yes, sir.
Maybe higher?
Yes, sir.
Maybe you reach the ceiling?
No, sir.
Okay, everybody together, front kick, roundhouse kick, turn 2 directions. Kicking to me! Ready, begin!
Front kick, roundhouse kick, punch, turn. Front kick, roundhouse kick, punch, yeah.
Taylor!
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
One more time, give it a big hand. Sit down. Sit wide. So, how about all of you? I know we trained a lot more things, but I know we don't have enough time. So, but I still want to show one more thing, which is breaking ball. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Holders, grab one ball right behind them. The reason we break the ball is they have enough power, right, and speed, and they have accuracy to break the ball. But without their confidence, they can't even hit hard. So we build up their confidence. That's why we try to own the real ball. So are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Today, let's do with your hammer fist. Can we do this?
Yes, sir.
turn around.
Yes, sir.
Face your holder. Bow. We show you respect. Everybody bow together. High sir or high man.
Aye, sir.
Okay, all of you, please sit down. Just the holder sit down. Yeah, put your board in the front. Again, this is the rear board. Okay, now all of you, break it down to me.
Yeah.
차려.
Yes, sir.
Without your confidence, you can't even break it. Okay, break it down to me. Now, I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3. All of you in this room, when I say 1, say focus. When I say 2, concentration. 3, with the key we break it. At 3, you're gonna break more. Can we do this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 1 is focus. Ready? 1. I said everybody. Everybody, ready? Okay, 1. 2. And 3, we sing. Get ready? 3. Now, all of you, please put up turn around. 차렷. Alright, now 5 seconds though. Begin. Can I hear same voice one more time? 5 seconds. Begin. See, this is our 5 N's of Taekwondo. That's what we built. Our principal already explained these values: respect, humility, perseverance, self-control, honesty. One more thing we built up a lot more in the public school was the teamwork. Think about all these moves, all the sound they make as a one. They're working together. We get more motivation together. This is great for all the children, especially again, we are volunteering, teaching Taekwondo in the public school. So again, many of them, some of them couldn't come to our studio, even they love it because of their time and financial situation. But we love to be here, volunteer these programs, so everyone, at least they can taste these values within our school in this program. That's what they're doing. And I think they did a really great job. How about we give one more time? Big applause. Right here, all the way, sit behind. Now, we are going to do about 6-minute demonstration from our demo team from US Taekwondo Center in Leominster. We've been doing 2 studios, one in Pittsburgh, one in Leominster. After COVID, we merged to one in Leominster. So they're going to do a quick demonstration. They've been training ears. Okay. Who's not sitting now? So they've been training ears, and then this demo team became first place last year New York Open Taekwondo Championship, Massachusetts Cup Taekwondo Championship, and they're going to try their best. I know today the space is not that big compared to where we're doing, but we'll do our best. Let me introduce our demo team, US Taekwondo Center, Leominster. Please give them big hands and up! Everybody on the back and also here in my breaking board, the broken board will fly. Show me your hands up like this. Say Kia! Say Kia! That's how you know how the breaking board comes. Okay? Make sure you don't get hurt, okay? I love your back, okay? Something, you gotta protect this for something, okay? Come here!
I'll be so sorry they just stepped. I'm surprised some kid didn't do that.
So competitors gonna be there, plus their family is gonna be there too. So it's gonna be a huge event on Saturday. Please come check it out instead of the Masters of Taekwondo Open Championship also. Again, that was our demonstration team from US Taekwondo, and I know we mentioned the Master Kim, but he couldn't come here today because he had to teach class. And that was Grandmaster John. Thank you very much for having us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. If we could have the crowd put the chairs back before we get started, that would be wonderful.
You guys did so good. I mean, I want you guys in class. It's not like a meeting you've never had.
Mr. Thompson?
Actually, demo team, can we take a quick picture here? Is it okay? We can take a picture? Yes. Right here in the middle. All of you, let's go take a picture because I go in the middle. Yes.
Triangle. Haven't seen that at a school. Congratulations, you know, for fighting.
Oh, my word.
You go through a routine to go up to the next thing. Most of you, I think it was one younger person had a brown belt, but most of you all have black belts. Well done. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
I missed it.
One more time, say, we love Pittsburgh!
So I think we are finishing up, clearing out our Taekwondo demonstration. I don't know how we're going to beat any other presentation ever here at school committee.
Well, I don't know. Aerial drones
Ever.
Well, that's the bar, so you know we gotta go higher
But
and
thank
higher.
you, school committee members, for allowing us to take this out of order this evening. I will return it back to Mayor Squalia to begin the remainder time of our school committee members.
Thank you, Superintendent Thompson. Okay, we will now return to our regular agenda, and we will go into the salute to the flag. I have Student Representative James Cannon to lead us in the salute to the flag.
What?
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, very good.
Boy.
That was wonderful. Now we have next on the agenda school committee members and student reports. We have the school committee chair report. There is no report at this time. And then we have reports of the resource subcommittee and school building needs subcommittee. Pete Stevens.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Squalia. This time we have grants that submit and to accept tonight, and they will be on tonight's agenda. Mr. Packard I had Mr. Packard put the enrollment in your packets, so you would get an update on the enrollment. And Mr. Packard gave us an overview, and I wanted all of you to see it. We have about 5,400 students, 5,401 right now in the system. And also look at, in the enrollment form, all the number of migrant students that are in the system now. We went over again the foundation budget, and we had a brief discussion on that, and we will be doing a lot of discussion of the budget here at the school committee in the very near future. Any questions on resource?
Yes, I do, Mr. Stevens. Where is it identified on the enrollment report for our migrant students?
Okay.
Oh, total immigrant students,
Total.
right here
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
second
On the
page?
second page, yep.
So we have a
250,
total of 259,
259.
and that is plus 35 from what previous number? At what point was that 35 additional? Is that this school year?
This school year.
This school
Yes,
year,
this school
35
year.
additional.
This school year, yeah.
Okay.
And the migrant population is actually spread over 3 years, the 259.
Yep.
It's the classification from the state, how it's done.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Any other further questions, comments, or concerns? Ms. England?
Thank you. I actually did have a quick question. I noticed the out-of-district on each of these categories. Was that the out-of-district students within each of those grades? So, example, enrollment by special education, pre-K 113. Would that be 4 of the 113 are out-of-district? Is that correct?
Which page?
Page 1.
Page one.
Enrollment by special
Oh.
education.
Out of district.
Oh, those are our out-of-district enrollment.
So would it be like 4 out of the 113 are
Yes.
out of district?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Is there anything further, Mr. Stevens?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you. We will move on to the policy subcommittee
No,
report.
we have
Oh, you're going to continue with school building needs?
the school building needs.
Okay.
Okay. School building needs, I did the same thing. Dan gave such an extensive report, and he has been. It's really been great. I wanted school committee to see the school building maintenance for 224, and you can see this past month the number of projects that the school building maintenance has undertaken. it just continues to go on and on, a lot of the work that they're doing.
A lot of math.
Any questions on Dan's report?
Yes, Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Greenlees?
Yes.
Yes, I need to just report that there's no video showing on my screen, only audio. Would it be possible for somebody to fix it?
Yes. Oh, there we
Thank you
go.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you, FATV. Thank you, Ms. Greenlees.
Thank you.
As you read through that report, you'll see that the building maintenance has been very busy. We're also, we have a review on some of the capital project updates, and with that, I'll have Mr. Roach give you a review on the architectural HVAC project cost and construction in Lonjo Auditorium.
Yeah, we've been working with a project manager for about 6 or 8 months now, and following that, I have brought on an architect and designer for HVAC upgrades, so heat, ventilation, air conditioning, that is part of the elementary and secondary school emergency relief fund. So we're excited to be moving forward with an HVAC improvement plan at the schools that were identified as most in need by an independent analysis in the heart of the pandemic. So GGD consultants did that in 2020. So South Street Early Learning Center, Rheingold, and Memorial will have all new unit ventilators installed in all the classroom spaces in the summer months, so starting as soon as school gets out, right up through just about the end of August. Those will also include a variable refrigerant flow, which does cool the air in South Street. We would love to be able to do that in all 3 buildings, but Memorial and Rheingold would require substantially more work to the electrical system in addition to additional abatement. So the cost of the upgrades that, again, are going to be funded by the ESSER funds in addition to another grant that we pursued called the Improving Ventilation and Air Quality Grant for $1.25 million is about $7.7 million. So again, it's long overdue. All of the devices have been identified as far exceeding their expected useful life. So this will be a huge upgrade in those three facilities. And we are establishing the Rheingold and Memorial systems with connectability to a variable refrigerant flow kind of air conditioning system that we hope to be able to do working with the city and other potential grants in the future. So they'll be ready to be converted to that as soon as funding is available. In terms of architectural upgrades, we are very close to, and those 3 projects are just about ready to be put out to the public bidding process, so we'll have contractors under contract hopefully in May so that they can begin, as I said, as soon as school is out. And then for more architectural and design projects, we have a significant surveillance system upgrade. If anybody out there is listening, you're welcome to attend the Safety Task Force meeting Thursday night. The designer will be there to review all of the schools' system upgrades. That's about $1.5 million project, and that will be all of our schools with the exception of the brand new Crocker School. That'll have a very sophisticated system.
What time and location is that, Mr.
That is,
Roach?
I'm sorry, 5:30 p.m. at Memorial, and it was posted today to all staff. Went out on all the social media sites. It's virtual and in person. If you come in person, there's pizza, so we'd love to have you.
Ooh, pizza.
And our security designer will be in person, which is great. Fitchburg High will get new front doors. That front door system there has been a challenge for many years, so that entire unit will be replaced, in addition to a walk-in freezer in the back of the cafeteria. South Street will have the building, the roof replaced at the South Street South building, which is the largest part of the building. That's a significant upgrade. That's about $1.5 million project there. And then we are looking at a couple of other projects. The Lonjo Auditorium is one that we want to do. But we have the funds that we have, so we are working with the project manager around sort of a modified design to that would phase in some of the work. Their estimation is to get it open, it will be $3.5 million. So that's a lot of money that, again, we didn't have enough of the grant funds for that. And as a school system, we can only use $150,000 of our funds for each one of our capital project. That's a mass regulation. So we'll work with the city and grants to find a way to do that, because they deserve to have an auditorium that is functional, and it would be a great one, as it is the largest one in our school system. So that's a quick update on some of the capital projects. All of these will be done this summer.
Thank you so much. Any further questions, comments, or concerns on school building needs? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the policy subcommittee. Ms. Jeffries.
We met on February 28th, and we were joined by Tracy Novick from the Mass Association of School Committees, and she is here with us tonight. She will be speaking later. And we worked on reviewing and updating Section A of our policies, and we will be meeting again on March 13th to continue our work.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to Student Support Subcommittee. Dr. Knight?
Nothing to report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, nothing to report. We have a next School Personnel Subcommittee, and we have no report at this time. Next, on the agenda, we have our Student Representatives report.
Fitchburg High, registration is now open for spring athletics. Any student who's interested in participating in spring sport. This includes baseball, softball, girls lacrosse, girls tennis, girls flag football, boys and girls outdoor track and field, and boys volleyball. The season begins Monday, March 18th. Coaches will reach out with tryout and practice information for all registered student athletes ahead of that date. With any questions, email Mr. Robbins. Thank you for Mr. D, Gear Up, and the Black Student Union for putting on a tremendous Black History Showcase on February 16th. The MVP program application, the application for the MVP program next school year is on the Fitchburg High School homepage. This program is a great opportunity for students who will be in the 11th or 12th grade next school year and are interested in studying carpentry or electrical. The Fitchburg High Drama Club's play, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, will be performing at Fitchburg High School on March 15th and 16th at 7:30 p.m., so make sure to come support.
At Memorial, Family Glow Night was hosted on February 13th, where 100 students participated in goal setting, games, and a book fair. Teachers at Memorial have completed their 4th round of instructional rounds, where each teacher observed 3 teachers and provided them with actionable feedback. 8th grade students have been planning their transition to high school by looking at opportunities such as the FHS Honors Academy. At South Street, kindergarten enrollment for the 24-25 school year begins on April 1st. At Rheingold, the first annual Tiny Art Show is going to be hosted on March 8th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And the Bunny Breakfast will be held on Saturday, March 23rd from 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those updates. Fantastic. The Bunny Breakfast is one of my favorites. Yeah. Oh,
I started that.
you started the Bunny Breakfast. Oh, wonderful. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the approval of the minutes of the regular school committee meeting from February 26. Do we have
Make a motion to approve minutes.
Second. Motion and second to approve the minutes of the regular school committee, February 26. Any questions? Okay, we can take that by unanimous consent. Okay, those are approved. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have communications regarding an open meeting law complaint. This was submitted by Jacqueline Wetchy regarding the subject of the complaint. Everyone should have in their packets regarding the open meeting law regulations governing remote participation. 940 CMR 29.10, when any or all public member bodies participate in a meeting remotely, the following requirements apply. All votes must be taken by roll call. At our school committee meeting on February 5th, Board Chair Squalia did not take a roll call vote. So, this communication is really to, fulfill the requirements of the open meeting law complaint, where our public body has this on the agenda, reviews the complaint, and responds. So, to let the members of our public body know if there is a member of the public body that is participating remotely, it is required that all votes must be taken by roll call. The members of the public body must be clearly audible to each other and to members of the public at all times. That is the communication. Do we have any comments or questions on this, Dr. Knight?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I was wondering if, I think I mentioned it to Superintendent Thompson before, if there is any opportunity for us to have some type of training for these, the Roberts Law and all these different laws that we need, because, it's difficult to learn all these different things if there is no training provided. I know you pick up something here and there, because I read the original letter. I was the person that was home on Zoom, and, we voted that way. So I didn't know. So I like to learn. That's why I don't mind going to school.
Thank you, Dr. Knight. Well,
that would be wonderful.
That's the perfect segue to the second portion of the a note where, the request from the public body was that training be taken up. And all members of school committee members are required to take a training by the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. Superintendent Thompson's executive assistant, Mary Alexandra, has disseminated to us dates of those available trainings, which all new members must take, and all members are suggested to take this
Is that the
training
one
as well.
that we'll be attending in Gardner?
The May 18th.
I participated in that meeting already. It was a great meeting, by the way, and I did request to participate in it again with everyone here, everyone from Fitchburg, but they did not go over the Roberts Law or anything that would have taught me that I could not, we had to have a roll call on that night. So if we could get some specifics on that, that would be wonderful.
Yep, so you can also go to mass.gov and search open meeting law. Mm-hmm. And there are online trainings available to educate, members of public bodies on the rules and regulations governing the open meeting law.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Stevens.
Fitchburg is also a member of Division 4 and Division 9 of MASC. And Division 4, which mostly the trainings I go to, they send out notices about training. They also ask what you would like to have training in. And I know they just had one a couple of weeks ago in Marlborough on a Friday night and Saturday. And if you're not getting the notices from the Division 4 chapter, let Mary Alexander know, and she can make sure that you get on the list so that you get those notifications.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Superintendent Thompson just reminded me that we are actually hosting here in the Legislative Building a training thanks to the Office of the Inspector General, a training for all public boards and commissions. If you contact our city clerk. I have it right here. You have the information? Oh, thank you. So that'll be Monday, March 25th at 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. here in the Legislative Building. This is thanks to the Massachusetts Office of Inspector General Academy. So this training will provide members of public governing bodies and the staff that support them with an overview of some of the tools and guidance needed to be effective in our roles. In order to register, we ask that you email Fitchburg City Clerk Joanna Bellata. You can do that by emailing cityclerk@fitchburgma.gov by March 8th. Okay?
I will forward you that information too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any further comments and questions on this communication? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on in the agenda, we have public comment. Public comments of no more than 5 minutes in length were offered to be submitted to the superintendent by email by noon of Monday, March 4th. Did we have any public comments? No. Okay. I now invite anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to please approach the podium, identify yourself by name and city of residence, and you are free to make a public comment of no more than 5 minutes of length at this time. Seeing no request to speak, we will continue on our agenda. We have the superintendent's report. We now have the FHS robotics team update.
We do.
Thank
we have
you.
another exciting evening this tonight, or another exciting item tonight. So, to follow up the Taekwondo demonstration, we have Miss Dawn Marshall and her robotics team here to talk a little bit about their program and showcase some of their robotics this evening.
And drones.
And drones.
And their accomplishments.
And their accomplishments.
Yes.
That's the big part.
That thing we learned.
Battle bots.
Ah, they fight each other? So they're friendly bots.
We have 2 different competition programs at the high school. We have a drone competition program, and we have the VEX V5 program. So the drone competition program we just started this year, and we only had 1 competition, and we did pretty good. We won something.
Excuse me, could you speak a little louder?
Oh, yeah. So we have 2 competition programs at the high school. We have the VEX competition, which is the V5. And then we have the drone competition program that we just started this year. So they're just going to demonstrate what they look like, what they sound like, what they can do. There's autonomous programs for each of them. In each competition, you pre-program your robot to do a certain thing, accomplish, try to get as many points as you can during a 15-second period. For the drones, it would be going through loops and doing things like that. And for the robots, it would be this year, in each year, both competition programs switch out the game. This year, it has the tripods, or we call them acorns, and you have to manipulate those to get points in certain ways. They can elaborate on that a little bit more. So they have a little demonstration about just how they work, what they do, what they sound like. And then you could try your hand on some drones and stuff if you'd like. They're pretty light. They won't take out an eye.
Yeah. Ms. Marshall, excuse me. Do you mind if the guys introduce themselves, what grade they're in and everything?
They're taller.
Hello, my name is Brian Otindo. I'm a senior. This is my 2nd year doing robotics.
My name is Haroon Ashraf. This is my 1st year officially doing robotics, but last year I still came to her class almost every day.
All right, how's it going? So my name is Abraham Vera. It's my actually 2nd year doing robotics, and this is our 1st year doing the drones, because and yeah, it's my senior year. I mean, I want to do it again, but I'm going off to college, so.
Hello, I'm Alexander Fay. I'm a junior. This is my 1st year doing it. I'm doing it as an independent study, and I'm definitely taking this class next year.
So what are we going to start with? Drones? Okay.
So the VEX robotics part there's 2 parts to each competition. So the whole match is 2 minutes, and in the first 15 seconds, you have your autonomous period, which means you have to write a program that will move the robot by itself, and you have objectives to try and get during your autonomous period. And one of them is to move a tri-ball into a logo or try and shoot it across the field on the opposing side. And there's also a hanging bar, so you can try to hang your robot, but we can't hang here. I'm going to show you the autonomous. Oh, I forgot to turn it on. Sorry. I made a pretty small autonomous because, this is a pretty small area. But normally it would be, was it like
20 by 20.
like a 20 by 20 foot field? So it's pretty big. So what you just saw there was the catapult, and what we found this year, so every year there's a different game, and this year it was called Over Under, and you have to shoot the tri-balls over to the other side and go, and you're allowed to go under and steal the tri-balls from the opposing side. And what we found, there was many ways of shooting the tri-balls over. Some of us were using flywheels that would throw the tri-ball to the other side. Some of us used catapults. Some of us used slingshots. So we found like there was many ways to get to one goal. And then the second part of our game was the driver control period, which you have 2 minutes to get as many points as you can, and whoever has the most points by the end of those 2 minutes, they win the game. And you use the controller just like a regular video game controller, drive forward, backward, and you have full control of your bot for the next 2 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you programmed all this?
I programmed this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I programmed this one. He programmed his. It's so there's teams. So it's like you're a class, but there's individual teams. So it's you and your partner or 2 other partners. And usually what we do is we have one person in charge of programming, one person in charge of building or planning, or you all like distribute the jobs amongst yourselves to make the workload easier. So it's like really great for team building and stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you designed and built the robotic machines that are here on the floor right now.
Yeah, so all you get is the materials and the game and the objectives and how you solve the game within the rules, that is. There's a very, very long manual. Within the rules, it's up to you how you play the game. And I want to say that there's no 2 bots that look alike, but you can make 2 bots that look alike, are the same, if you use the same parts, but most of the time, there's never 2 bots that look exactly alike. That's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex, are you next? All right.
Congratulations.
That I use in the competition. It has a few more features just for demonstration purposes.
So tell me what you're going to do right now so we can brace ourselves.
It's going to go forward.
Okay.
It's going to deposit the tri-ball on the left, and it's going to turn around and push it.
Okay.
And it's going to do a little spin and a zigzag back to me and shoot the tri-ball.
Okay, so... Okay, go ahead.
Are we safe?
That's the right question, Rosemary.
It's soft plastic, doesn't hurt
It's ready.
Yeah.
Not the problem. Deflected easy.
All right, we're ready. I was ready.
And then after those 15 seconds are up, drive around. So, tri-balls here, and I have a set up. Get one up there.
Isn't that me? Oh. Ah, got a little conveyor belt.
And then, of course, since
What's
a
that?
big part of the game is shooting to the other side, there's normally a match load zone bar that you can put your robot in contact with, and then you can place one tri-ball directly onto your robot, until it's off of your robot. And so people usually make launch choices. Repeatedly launch trials. We obviously have a limited amount, but you can have about, I think, 22 per team. And so some robots are designed specifically just to launch a whole volley of tri-balls to the other side for the teammate of the goal. And this intake here is another feature. You can see it in many different forms. Some robots might have a vertical wheel. Some might have a horizontal wheel like mine. Some might have a claw, but for this competition, a claw isn't as effective as a sprinter. Or so I know. Someone might make a really good claw. But, yep.
So Alex, you design, built, and programmed this entire
Yes, since
robot?
I'm an independent study, I don't have any other teammates to work with, so yeah, I did all the work designing this.
That's amazing.
So that first routine that your robot did, you just hit a button to start, and you wrote a program for it to do all those things on its own.
Yes.
And same with yours, the first one, you did the same thing. The first routine was a program that you wrote.
Mm-hmm. During the first 15 seconds, once you press that button, your controller does not work. So even if you tried to mess with it, it wouldn't work.
So
it's all the time.
That's the sequence that you programmed, and it goes through it.
Yeah.
After you push that one button.
Yeah.
Can I ask, what is your favorite part of doing this? Is it designing, programming, or building?
Or playing with it?
Or playing the competition.
I mean, everyone has. My personal favorite is thinking of a way to solve the game, and building something that will work and making it better and better. I feel like a lot of this time I spend is not really playing the game or trying to get better at the game. It's trying to find better ways to do what I already do, and I feel like that's, in my opinion, the most fun part.
You reminds me of Wally.
Yes.
And what about you?
It's a hard question to answer. I do enjoy all of those things, but I think if I could find a commonality between them, I'd say it's sort of the sense of progress you feel when you make it. I've spent pretty much the entire school year so far designing, building, programming this bot. And actually programming takes a lot less time than the building part. But I'm quite proud of it, I would say. It has a lot of
We're proud of you.
This is amazing.
So how long on average, which I don't know if it was different for you guys, but how long would it have taken you to build that, to design it?
Well, you could probably do the math with the amount of class hours that have been spent, but
Let's simplify, how long of the school year?
pretty much all of it so far.
Okay.
So you work on this every day almost in school?
Yeah.
I mean, the most time-consuming part of the game, I think, is sometimes you go to a competition, and the first competition is where you really understand how to play this year's game. At first, all you get is a 2-minute YouTube video on the rules of the game, how to get points, and what can you do during your autonomous. And during the first competition is really that's where you learn, what do I have to change, what can I make better, what can I scrap. And most of the time you're spending is just adapting to the game until you have something that is basically perfect for the game. By the end of the year, we're aiming for a bot that can play the game and be really good, just straight out of the box. Yes, that's about it. That's great.
So you guys are constantly tweaking it all year to try and achieve your maximum.
Yes. So this class is an actual honors level class. That's a full-year class. So it's part of the. We thought that was the best way to incorporate it with the competition. is to make it consistent during the day and try to not have an after-school program, which didn't really work out too well. Conventions that high schoolers have.
I do want to point out one more thing, which is in an actual competition, your team basically works together with another team against opposing alliance of two teams. So along with the teamwork within your own little group, which in this case is just me, you also get to work with other teams and strategize as well before you start the match, which is obviously for me where most of the teamwork comes in. But I'd say I've definitely improved my skill at strategizing quickly with someone else. And I've designed my robot to try to compensate for whatever design may come my way on my team.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's great.
Thank you so much.
Should we take a look at the drones now?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the last time I used a drone, it got stuck up in the tree in the backyard, and I had just purchased it. So hopefully that doesn't happen tonight.
Okay. Oh, by the way, also because in the actual match, our robots do get destroyed badly because it's everybody's crashing into each other. So we got reinforce it really well. But,
So you learned repair.
yeah. And parts start falling off too.
All that time building, and then it gets just.
For Mr. Fay, I have a question. I think the last time you were here, you were fascinated with this subject, huh? And you, on your own, I don't think it was your main studies. Do you intend to continue on in the engineering field or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Definitely? You're a senior, are you?
I'm a junior.
You're a junior?
I think last time you did, he wasn't in the course, but he
Yeah, he
but he
volunteered.
volunteered and he wanted to be in it.
Yeah, he wanted to be in it, yeah. Good for you. I like the progress. It's great. And your young men must have a lot of camaraderie that the rest of us know nothing about.
All right. So this is our Vex Eclipse competition. So basically, there's two different games. One is you're with someone and you guys have to score the most points together. And there's another one which is autonomous. It also is programmed by itself, but currently we don't have the computer, so we mostly forgot it at the school. And we have objectives. So you see there's more to this, but we didn't. It's takes a while to set up. So our objective is to go over it. Through the hoop and 3 times over rapidly, and we go to the next one and do it 3 times rapidly. So there's 3 hoops, and there's also these squares that have holes in them. So there's different sizes. There's small, medium, and big. The small ones you get the most points because it's hard to get through, and the big one is you get the less points. But we have to get the most points as we can. And right now we're gonna hopefully don't crash. All right, so there's different. We can change the speed on this. It's and these drones are really sensitive too. So basically, if I do a little bit, it just goes rapidly to the right and left. So you got to get used. It took me a while to get used to.
Yeah.
So does every team have the same kind of drone?
There you go. What was that?
Do all the teams get the same kind of drones?
Yeah.
Okay.
And are these something you built or you did not build?
Oh no, this is what we ordered.
You ordered it. Gotcha. Okay. So how many points would these be?
Oh, there's 3.
Are these the big
3
hoops?
points? And these are the biggest ones you have?
Huh?
Are these the largest?
Yes, these are the largest.
All right.
You're controlling 2 at one time?
Camera on those things.
What was that?
You're controlling 2 at one time?
No, he's controlling one.
No, keys. I think he is.
Glasses. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
I feel like Black Mirror.
All right, you guys want to give it a try?
I am not. Yeah.
I want to.
The mayor wants to try.
Mayor would like to try. And I think Dr. Knight.
Oh, you've got plenty.
L1 to take off? Okay.
I'm not.
All right, everybody get your taekwondo.
Send it my way.
That's right. So the left
Now
button,
what?
the left button is to go up.
You just
Left.
crashed.
Hold left button, go, wait, hold L1,
Yeah.
then move the left button.
That you, Doctor?
Which one do you have?
Hey, look at that. All right. Oh, no. Oh. Oh, higher. Higher. Oh, no, it's coming at me.
Go through the hole.
Hi there. Higher. Okay.
Watch your head.
They give us an arrow.
Oh, you didn't crash, Sam.
You can go. It's like backwards. There we go. Keep going. Yay!
The flag.
Okay, now what?
Dr. May.
I think you may have lost some points in that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, the last time you were here, you were getting ready to go to a competition, and it's been some time since that competition has passed. So, I would love to hear how you did at the competition, what you learned, and I don't know if you've had any other competitions since then. That first one you discussed. So, I don't know if anyone wants to talk about that.
So since the last time they were here, I wasn't here. I couldn't make it. But what was it? 2 competitions? Yeah. We've had 2 competitions since then, plus the drone competition. We really travel everywhere. The drone competition, we went to Connecticut for that. Some of them were in Framingham. One of them was in North Andover. And it's really just like an experience it's like a social experience to learn how to work with other people that you don't know, that you've never met before, but you have to learn to adapt to work with them on the fly. As for how we did, I think 2 or 3 of our teams made it into the qualifiers.
Wow.
Ooh.
And the best we've done, I think we got 2nd place one time. We have 2 trophies right now at the moment. As for what we hope to achieve, well, once we're gone, is obviously like get more kids interested in it, because all day long there's kids passing by saying, "Oh, I wish I had joined robotics. It looks so fun," and it's really just getting more attention to our robotics program and getting more people involved, because I think it's really like something special that everyone should have a chance to enjoy.
It's great.
And are there more competitions coming up before the end of the school year?
We have one more competition in May. I think, is that the one in Oakmont? Yeah, that's the one at Oakmont High School. So the Oakmont one is like a yearly one. We go there every year. We compete against Oakmont High School and all the other like regional schools that decide to show up.
Now, is that open to the public that we could go in?
Yeah, you can come.
Will you let us know when that's going to be held? Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to swing by and see you in action.
Thank you.
I have a final question for the team. What is a life skill that you feel like you can take with you beyond robotics into other spaces that you've gained?
I think for one it would be with working with all of each other. We've gotten used to getting used to how each person works, how each person wants to do their thing, but we all adapt to how we need to adapt and work together as we need to and to succeed. I think that's one of the main things.
I would say also, I don't know how this applies to other students, but kind of learning to learn independently, because in the real world, you're not going to have a teacher to teach you how to do things. And I did have to learn this VEX building system from scratch when I joined. And I think I've definitely grown in my sort of like my ability to figure things out on my own. And problem solve.
Problem solving.
Yeah, that's how I could.
That's great.
I mean, my favorite part is like working with each other because everybody has different ideas. Like your partner, if he wants to do that and I want to do this, you guys have to settle things together. I usually go with my partner because sometimes he's wrong. And yeah, that's basically it.
For me, it'd be patience. Last year, I didn't have a partner, and this year was my first time having a partner. And I think adapting to, like what they said, being able to work with your partner, because at times I get really frustrated with my partner. Like, I tell him, do this or do that, or can you please help me with this? And it's his first year, and I understand that he doesn't know as much as I do. But being able to realize that he doesn't know and being able to take it slow and explain, I think that's really helped me in becoming more patient, not just in robotics, but in the real world as well.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the robotics students or Ms. Marshall?
Nope. Thank you so much for that demonstration.
Good luck with
Thank
the
you.
competition. Another question.
Oh.
When you were here last time, you requested more space for your work. You were working out in the hallways, right? Did you get more space, I hope?
No, there's no. We had a very good influx of extra teachers. It's great. All the classrooms are full.
Why didn't you
It's
give them
fantastic.
space? Yeah.
But it is what it is. And it's a nice space, though. Like I said, all the students know about us. So hopefully we can pick up some. And hopefully we get this group together, and hopefully the people who make it as a class to go with the.
I think like on opening day.
The eighth grade orientation. I think we can go and do something that the
Oh, that's a great idea.
schools.
Yeah.
I'd love to get those students who are really interested from when they're coming in. If they're there with me, freshmen, sophomores, we'll be trophies out.
I don't know if you have spoke to, I'm not going to blank on his 8th grade science teacher at Memorial. What's his name? Thank you, Mr. Landry. He actually has a engineering group right there right now, and they're doing a lot of similar things. So I don't know if that'd be great for you to go down and possibly talk to those students in that group, because there's a lot of interesting things happening in this class with those students.
I'm excited for Fitchburg High.
Yeah. I'll mention that to him, but I think the students would love to see you, and actually, I think for you to actually see what they're doing in 8th grade and tell them what's next when they continue with us at Fitchburg High School. So, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Knight.
One last thing, Miss Marshall.
I'd love to have freshmen join us as long as
Yeah.
they're enthusiastic.
That's wonderful to get them from early. But I also want to commend you. I don't know if you have more students and this multicultural body of students you have here participating. I don't know if you purposely did that or it just beautiful. It's not just, yeah.
Where the
I like when you open the door. Oh, there you go. There you go. She said, where are the ladies?
Congratulations on your successes. Good luck at Oakmont. Really impressive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you, Ms. Marshall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dawn? I'm not sure
Thank
if that
you.
little rubber thing
Oh, right there.
goes to something of...
Probably for wires.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
It's amazing. Look at he's.
Thank you.
All right.
See you later.
So, we've had some fun this evening, but now it's time to get back to work here. So, this evening, we're very fortunate to have Tracy Novick from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees with us this evening to talk a little bit about the roles and responsibilities of the school committee, the members of the school committee, and myself, the superintendent, to talk about what you do, what I do, and how we work together to meet the needs of our students in the district. So, Tracy, thank you so much for coming.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you. I mean, we like to think that training can be fun.
Sorry.
Admittedly, it doesn't involve little robots, though. might start bringing drones to things, although that might be too much of a temptation. So good evening, and what a fun evening to join you on. Honestly, we had a little bit of everything this evening. So those of you who I haven't already met, which is actually not very many of you at this point, but and just introduce myself entirely. My name is Tracy Novick. I'm a field director with the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and specifically, I am the Central Mass field director, which means that I am your field director. Just came up 190 from Worcester this evening, and was with your policy subcommittee, as you heard earlier last week. And as we were talking about Section A, which is really sort of setting out the foundations of the district, talking about their immediately jumping straight into Section B. Your policy subcommittee are a bunch of go-getters. Got to commend you for that, which is the section that talks about the school committee. The fact that you were going to be having a conversation about roles came up, and I offered to come and be with you to walk you through really how we outline the role of the school committee, vis-a-vis the superintendent and the administration, both under Massachusetts general law, under the ethics obligations of a school committee member, and also really just kind of to give you some operational principles in terms of how your work works. So my plan, Madam Chair, is to give you some sort of broad strokes in terms of the role of the school committee, and then to walk you through the main responsibilities. I am happy to stop at any point. I'm happy to take questions at any point. I will say that for those of you who, as we had mentioned earlier, who've already been through charting the course, some of this will be review. I think at this point, probably Mr. Stevens could teach this himself. But we also know that longstanding members tell us that review actually is good, and often they will get things out of it that they haven't gotten before. So with that in mind, we just, in general strokes, in terms of the role of the school committee, there really are four things that live together in one section of the Mass General Law, and then another one that lives off in another section. So the broad responsibilities of the school committee in Massachusetts, and this is written right into Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 71, are setting goals, are setting policy, are the hiring and the evaluation of the superintendent, then the budget. And of course, it's a time of year for that. And then over in Section 150E, the school committee is actually the employer of record for the purposes of collective bargaining. And so the school committee is actually the body that is responsible for negotiating with any of your collective bargaining units. A little bit different oftentimes than the municipal side, particularly in cities. So something that we think is useful for school committees to know, because I think municipal bodies tend to sort of function of, you've got your work to do and you come in and you've got to get contracts done and budgets passed and, buildings fixed and all of those kinds of things. But there is actually research that has been done over the course of the past couple of decades around what makes for a successful school committee that actually lends itself at the end of the day to more successful students. And what we found, and this is actually national research, this is part of the work that we've done through our national trainers group, is that successful school committees, they may well disagree. You are deliberative bodies. You are elected and put here in order to have conversations in public that may well lead you in different directions. But successful school committees do actually share a couple of things. They share a vision. They have a notion together as to what it is that they're about, why they're here, the direction that they're going. They share accountability, that they are the ones ultimately that are responsible for the success of the district, and that there are things that they do in order to make that happen. They have a sense of relationship. One of my previous colleagues who's now retired, Mike Gilbert, used to quote some statistic as to the percentage of waking hours that school committee members spent with one another, and I have long since forgotten it, which probably was on purpose because it can be a little discouraging. But his point was very valid, which is that you're going to spend a lot of time with these people, and often in very tense situations, budget negotiations, other kinds of things, and these do not have to be your best friends, but you do do have to have working relationships among your committee, and I would say not only your committee, but also with your governance team, with the superintendent and with the administrators that work directly with him. And if you don't have that, it makes everything else harder. And so that notion of professional respect and of mutuality in those working relationships is actually really important. Successful school committees make their decisions based on data without making data all they do. So you don't just make decisions in a vacuum, but you make it based on real things. They have a sense of collaboration among themselves, with the administration, with the other bodies with which they work, and that can be both locally and at the state level. They also have, and I'll talk more about this at some length, a sense of mutual trust and mutual respect. And, we can come in and we can do presentations and we can do training and we can urge you to come to the various things the association does, but those are things that entirely depend on you all. That building of trust, that building of respect, that maintaining of those things is really something that can only be done at the local level and can only be done by the people who are directly involved. So that's actually very much one where I talk about it and I put it on presentations and I encourage people to do it, but at the end of the day, it's really only you all that can do that. So sometimes I get asked to kind of boil down the school committee superintendent piece into one image. And by the way, the red this evening is intentional. I redid the presentation so that we would be making a nod to Fitchburg this evening.
Appreciate that.
So there's a number of different kinds of ways that you can express the things that are the job of the superintendent versus the job of the school committee. We talk sometimes about governance, and governance being this much sort of higher level perspective on direction and long-term planning, big picture budgeting, and the superintendent is, of course, the actual day-to-day management of the school district, the nitty-gritty, nuts and bolts, what is happening from one day to the next. The school committee is looking at the ends, the results. You just heard some, facilities ones, right? And at the end of the day, we're going to have doors that are like this, and we're going to have. So there's been some of those conversations even this evening of you're the end, but the administration is the part that the ones that have to do all the pieces up to get you to that place. They're the means, they're the methods, strategies, action plans. As you were working on last week, school committee passes policy, and then under that, regulation or procedure is put together by the administration. The budget is passed by the school committee at a cost center level. We'll talk about that in a minute. But then the day-to-day actual spending of the dollars is done by the administration. In general, and this is very much not a perfect thing, but in general, if it is the answer to what, why, or how much, it is probably under the purview of the school committee. If it is the answer to how, who, when, or where, it is probably the purview of the administration. You will absolutely be able to find exceptions to that. It's not a perfect analogy, but in general. The school committee should really be acting as a bridge between the community and the administration. Later on, I'm going to talk about communication. One of the jobs of the school committee, which is not written down anywhere at all, is that you actually can be the ears of the administration in the community. You, by virtue of being elected officials, have people who talk to you and complain to you and email you and call you and stop you in the grocery store. If there are any of those things that would be valuable for the superintendent to know, that is a really valuable role for the school committee to play. The superintendent, meanwhile, is the bridge between the staff and the committee. The staff ultimately works for the superintendent and is actually then forming that bridge of here is what the staff needs in order to fulfill their job for the school children that you serve. And then here on the bottom is really sort of a nice visual of really the handoff that frequently is happening between the administration and the school committee. So generally speaking, if you look to the right, many of the things that you have before you are going to come before you on a recommendation from the superintendent, whether that's a budget, sometimes when it's a policy change, it's a staffing thing that you actually need to weigh in on, recommendations around what you bring forward as your collective bargaining position. All of those are going to come from the administration. You then authorize whatever those are after your deliberation. You vote them, and then it is handed back to the administration to actually move forward and implement whatever it is. Over the course of that implementation, you will have responsibilities to monitor what happens, whether you're talking about monitoring the budget through quarterly reports, whether you're talking about monitoring the implementation of the policy, whether you're monitoring the implementation of the contract, and then frequently the cycle is then going to start again where there's feedback that then goes into another level of recommendation that completes the cycle. Now you'll note here that the thing that actually forms the section between the superintendent and the school committee is that trust and respect again. And so everything else I've said here has been, in this section, has been pretty sort of cut and dry. But this is one where when we say things like, well, where exactly is the line between when this becomes an authorization versus a decision of the superintendent? How do I know that when I pass something off, it's going to happen? How can the superintendent know that the school committee is actually out there attempting to be partners with the administration? Those are things about trust and respect. But what I will say is this. And this was actually put well to me by one of my colleagues at the national level, who said this: imagine that you are someone who's just moved into town, or someone who doesn't have children in the school system, has no interaction at all with the school system, happen to be at home, and you click on the television, and this is what you see. If the only interaction that a member of your community has with the school district is the school committee, which is true of plenty of people, what is their impression of the school district? And I will say that that really actually sort of changed my own perspective during my own school committee service. But I also put that forward because in terms of the community's level of trust, certainly parents, families have their own interactions with the school district on which they can make their judgment. But for the larger community, a lot of the judgment that they're going to bear about how the school district is doing is going to be based on the one entity that actually has any public face, which is the school committee. So keep that in mind in your interactions with each other as well. Now, the other thing that I want to mention here is that there's a distinction between what you can and what you should do as an individual member of the committee versus the responsibilities and the powers and authorities that you have as a body. So the first thing is that I would note that in public life, we have people like mayors, and we have city councilors, and we have representatives, and we have senators. And there is no way of expressing that someone serves on a school committee except to say that they are a member of a school committee. And that's a handy way of reminding yourself that the only place that you have any power or authority is when you're doing exactly what you're doing right now, which is that you're meeting in a posted public meeting with a quorum of the committee on something that's under your purview. Otherwise, you have no authority beyond that of any other voter in the city of Fitchburg. So that is a good thing to keep in mind about yourself, is that that is entirely your job. That's in no way to diminish both either your job or the powers of an individual voter. Those are both important things. But it is an important thing to remember about school committee. The places where you govern the district are within those same core functions of the school committee, through making budgetary decisions, through making decisions about policy, through the evaluation of the superintendent, through the decisions that you make in your collective bargaining agreements as the employer of record. All of those things are decisions that you make that actually set the direction of the district, alongside things like setting goals, developing and fulfilling a strategic plan, those kinds of things. Now, as an individual member, your job is to do things like come prepared to meetings, make sure that you've actually read the backup, make sure that you're prepared to ask the questions that need to be asked. Once decisions are made by the body, you do have a responsibility to do your part to fulfill them and to carry them out. And by the way, that goes whether or not you agreed with them, and because once the decision is made, it's the decision of the committee. And then ultimately, to make sure that you're doing this work ongoingly for the good of the students and not for any other kind of reason or gain. Something I've been working on for a while is a way of trying to give an image. I'm a person who thinks in terms of words and images as much as anything. To the fact that your responsibilities are interrelated. None of them are isolated. And if we had arrows that went from every single one of those to every single other one of them, it becomes unreadable. So I stopped with what I had here. But the idea here is that your budget impacts your collective bargaining agreement, but also your policies impact your budget. The goals that you set can only be carried out if you actually make a budget that is designed to carry them out. The evaluation of the superintendent frequently is going to be interrelated with the goals that you've set for the district, but also the policies that the superintendent is charged with carrying out, the responsibilities the superintendent has for the day-to-day of the budget, and the oversight that the superintendent has of the collective bargaining agreement, and so forth. But I do think it's always important to remember that you don't do any of those things in isolation. Each of them impacts the other ones, and it's helpful to think about them in that way. Any questions so far before I dig into each of these a little bit more? Yes.
Right at the beginning,
yes.
You mentioned that it was the school committee's purview to discuss issues. And just historically, my brief historical is that the opportunity to discuss was very curt and not deep and not terribly intelligent. It seemed to be just, probably someone thinks differently from another person, and if they have the power, they just speak up and make you be quiet. I addressed that issue with you before. So I'm really happy. I just want to report to you that that something seems to be changed. We have we are not curtly and disrespectfully shut off from speaking. And so that's an improvement. But I don't think we've developed a really intelligent way of, because we're so time limited. They say if you haven't said what you wanted to say in a minute, it's like, out of order or whatever. So I think we have a long way to go. But I just would like to hear you reaffirm that this body, when we're speaking publicly, and we're watched, observed, and we're voted in, so we do represent the people, that it is legitimate to discuss.
So deliberation on items that are under your purview, right? So making sure that you're always addressing the item that's before you, the items on the agenda always being things that are actually under school committee purview. Now, I will say that I know that you're among the committees that have set yourselves a time limit, and that's considered a best practice. In part because, and I say this as someone who goes to a lot of school committee meetings, there certainly are school committees across Massachusetts that can run themselves into very sizable, lengthy meetings. So I think that every committee actually has a balance in terms of how do you ensure that every member of the committee feels like they've been heard, they've contributed to the deliberation. You want to make sure that you have a deliberation, but does so in a timely fashion that actually people say their piece, and then you move forward with actually making a decision together. And I do think that that is a tension of really, I would say probably of every public body. I think that school committees probably, and I mean, this is probably partly my own preferences, but I do know that school committees are one of the only public bodies I know of that actually even have that conversation of how do we make sure that we're getting to a decision without spending tons of time getting to a decision that we don't necessarily need to spend getting there. So yes, I think it's a tension.
Are you saying that we have a time limit for the members of this public body?
So do you actually generally set your school committee meetings overall to last a particular length of time?
We've never had
Yes.
a time.
No,
We've never had a time.
You've never had a time? Okay.
I'm not familiar that there's
Then I will
any
take that
time
back.
limit.
Okay.
Yep. There certainly are school committees in Massachusetts that will say, we're going to have a deliberation about this issue, and we expect that it's going to take about 15 or 20 minutes. Now, they do that to themselves, and it is their own rule, which they can just decide to either adhere to or not. It is one of the ways that people try to sometimes manage what can become otherwise unmanageable meetings.
Oh, sorry.
No, I want to make sure I stay to the fact that you're meeting, so the chair has the Yep.
Okay, let me see how I can put this. And I believe I mentioned something about this the last time I met you over in, what was that city?
We were in Hopkinton.
Hopkinton. So you mentioned time spent together, and I'm not trying to come up with more work for you to do. I just want to be able to go by what you were explaining there, right? So you talk about that, school committee members should have some time that they spend together to go over different issues and, agree on different things and so forth. So I'm wondering, with other school committees, how do they do this? I mean, because again, we come here together to, to the school committee meetings, but I don't know, we never go out for lunch together and sit down and talk. I don't know, how does that happen? I'm not trying to give anyone any more work. I just want to know, when do I get to know Mr. Welch more? I know we have difference in opinion, which is at the heart of America's democracy, but I'm figuring, how does that take place in other districts so that it can look like we have this collaboration going on together?
So I will say that this is probably another one where there is a balance to be kept, right? So first of all, you already had this evening. Your absolute number one rule is the open meeting law, right? Cannot have a quorum of either the full body or a subcommittee meeting together to have a discussion on something under your purview. So keeping that in mind, first of all, the subcommittees being a place where a lot of the work of the committee happens is a really effective way of doing it. And frequently, because that is a smaller group that are working on a particular set of specific kinds of issues, some of that both discussion and to some degree relationship building can happen there. Your subcommittees are what, 3, 4?
3.
3. Okay, so for any individual member and any other individual member, as long as you are not on the same subcommittee and thus don't make a quorum of a subcommittee, there's nothing to prevent you from getting together to have a discussion about really anything that you do. If 2 of you serve on the same subcommittee, you can still get together, you just can't talk about anything under that subcommittee. So certainly, if you have someone you want to invite out for coffee, please do that. That's entirely cool. And even, again, I feel like we're on different pages about this, but I know that we both are motivated by what's in the best interest of the kids in the district. How do we make sure this is a good working relationship? That's a fine conversation to have.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yep. I'm sorry, you just said you can get together, but you can't discuss anything under the subcommittee, right?
Under the subcommittee's purview, right. So the 2 of you I know are on the policy subcommittee cannot get together and have a conversation about Section B.
I understood. I heard.
However, you could have a conversation about something that's not under the subcommittee's purview. Yes. All right. So to go a little bit more specifically into sort of the big picture responsibilities, there are lots of tiny ones like, setting school lunch prices and all these other things, but those are smaller ones. In terms of the big picture ones, this is, I said there's a sort of elevator speech version of what is the job of the school committee. It's MGL Chapter 71, Section 37. So I could quote that for almost everything we're going to do here. But that's actually where we get the notion of establishing goals. And so, for example, right, the school committee has established a mission and a vision for the district. That's big picture. School committees sometimes will establish strategic plans or multi-year goals or other kinds of, you can express it in many different kinds of ways. But the idea is, where are we going? Long-term, big picture. They also, of course, establish the goals for the superintendent. Usually the superintendent will bring them to the school committee. School committee will deliberate and make a decision on that, and then evaluate the superintendent based on those. And we do like to note that the goals actually are part of, again, that interrelationship. Among other things, they should be giving you some form to, when we're making budgetary decisions, what are we making them based on? One of the things is goals. It gives you a way of monitoring progress. How are we getting somewhere, or where are we going? And it does give you a sort of a structure and a way of ensuring alignment. And by that, I mean that the goals of the school committee, sorry, I just lost my cursor, are the foundation really of then the superintendent's goals, the school improvement plans, if you as a school committee decide to have goals for yourselves, Then building on that should be the administrator's goals. And then from that come the teacher's goals, and then ultimately the focus of the work of the district is on student achievement. So that's really the idea of the school committee then is making sort of the first level of decisions there, that then everything else is structured to build off of.
Tracy?
Yes.
You mentioned school improvement plans.
Yes.
And I looked at the sheet that you sent out, and under school councils,
Yes.
School committee, review and approve an annual school improvement plan for each school in the district.
That should be rephrased because you don't
Yes,
actually have
it
to get
should be.
power to approve.
We don't have, the Superintendent's Association has opposed us on that, and we do not have the power to approve the school goals, the school improvement plans anymore. And under MASC, we have tried to get that back, but
A number of years, yes. As I
Yes.
recall, that was a late-breaking amendment to a law. But yes. However, I would note that it should be an outgrowth of the goals of the district, right? So this all should be interrelated. Anything else on goals? All right. So policy, and you're engaged in policy now, right? So policy is, again, right there at MGL 7137. And policy is really sort of this, again, has this sort of interrelationship with the work of the administration, right? Policy, we're talking usually big picture stuff, broad strokes, general statements about direction. When it comes to the nitty-gritty of how does this then get carried out, that goes over to the administrative side and becomes procedure, okay? Now, there are exceptions, just like everything else. As I said to the policy subcommittee, one of the reasons for the exception is that the state legislature doesn't understand the difference between policy and procedure and keeps making school committees pass policies that are procedure. Nonetheless, that detailed level goes to the administration, okay? And so that's an important thing for school committee to know, is that you're going to pass language that often is not going to be specific, and that's intentional because the specific part happens with the administration. Policy is actually found in a number of places. It's not just in this strange book that has all these funny codes in it. You're making policy decisions in a lot of other kinds of things that you do, in the collective bargaining agreement, in your handbooks, if you make a strategic plan, any of the kinds of vision statements and mission statements. Sometimes things like grant applications and your minutes can have them in them. If the districts that have regional agreements, it's in there. And then last but very much not least, you are very much making policy decisions when you set your budget, when you're making those decisions about what you do with the money. And I always urge school committees to really view their budgetary decisions in that light, that you're not just allocating dollars, you're making other kinds of decisions when you allocate those dollars. Anything on policy, I should say, before I go on? No, because you guys are rocking and rolling with policy. All right. In terms of personnel, so obviously the big personnel decision that any school committee makes is this hiring of the superintendent, and then the yearly evaluation of the superintendent, the cycle of the superintendent's evaluation with the mid-cycle review and so forth, and then the superintendent is doing the management of the system. However, there are a couple of kind of more of other positions with which the school committee interacts. So first of all, it's always useful to note that legal counsel works for the school committee, not for the administration. You hire and retain legal counsel. That is a decision made by the school committee. I'm going to skip the second section and just go on here. Your establishment of personnel policy, which looking forward to it all, is Section G, makes decisions about how people are doing their jobs and the broad strokes of that. While the school committee doesn't make decisions about, say, principal salaries or that sort of thing, you do establish broad compensation, which often is things like what is the level at which we compensate people with particular kinds of administrative positions. The way that school committees handle that vis-a-vis their administration varies widely. And then, of course, you're the employer of record for collective bargaining agreements. Now, in terms of these positions here in the middle, and I intentionally quoted the MGL, I know it's teeny, but this is one that we sometimes get, people sometimes get themselves tangled up in. So, first of all, the school business manager technically actually lives in the same MGL as the superintendent. So, while it's an advise and consent position, there is a recognition that the relationship is a little bit different. When it comes to assistant superintendents and anything else that is like that, associate superintendents, deputy superintendents, districts call them different things. This is an advise and consent. So the superintendent has the responsibility as the person who, first of all, is overseeing all of the work of the district, and then is actually then attempting to administer it, of doing all of the decision making in terms of whatever process the superintendent wishes to follow in getting somebody there. Then ultimately recommends the person to the school committee. The school committee gets an up or down vote. That's it. And the law is really clear about this, that the approval of the school committee shall not be unreasonably withheld. And they don't use the word unreasonably lightly in Mass General Law, in my experience. So you gotta not only just not want to do it, you gotta have really good reasons to say no. And then of course the superintendent does have the right to ask what the reasons are. So this isn't just that, you wanted it to be somebody else. You wanted something else to happen. This is the person that's in front of you. Is this person actually qualified to fill the position? Is the decision that you make, not some other decision that you wish you had made instead. Okay, so I always think that's important to know. We sometimes get phone calls in the office on that one of, we've got this coming up, how am I making this decision? Rarely does the law go into sort of this level of detail in terms of how you're supposed to make your decision. So I always think it's important to stress that to school committees. And then, of course, the superintendent is the chief executive of the district. So all of these positions, once they're hired by the school committee, then are evaluated by the superintendent. The superintendent oversees all of those positions. Okay? Pretty clear?
Quick
yes.
question. My vision is bad.
No, and it's tiny.
What's the chapter and section?
It's MGL Chapter 71. Most of school committee stuff is Chapter 71. Section 59.
59. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Got
And the first two sentences are actually about the superintendency, and then it gets into this associate and assistant superintendent stuff.
No, I'm good.
Yep.
I'm good. Help. Thank you.
Sure. And then the budget. So the last section, of course, of the MGL we've been citing right along was about the budget. I gave you a different one here because I do think it's important for school committee to know that they do have a level of authority over the budget that frankly is unusual in terms of municipal finance. So school committees have cost center authority, and it's up to the school committee to make those decisions. The bottom line that you are allocated by your municipal side is simply a bottom line. That is all that they get to decide. Okay? I tend to see that more in town meetings than cities, but nonetheless. So what does it mean in terms of school finance? Fiscal policy, both establishing it and understanding it. The appointments, particularly the school business official, but also the superintendent is a financial policy decision. Making sure that you're linking your financial decisions to the goals that are set in the district. And then it's really that final budget proposal where you vote the budget that then goes to your municipal side for allocation. I always remind committees that isn't the end of your job. You have the responsibility of transfers, quarterly reports, depending on the district, warrants, and so forth. So those are parts of your school finance perspective. I would also note that, and we hear this a lot this time of year, advocacy also is part of your job as a school committee member. And I don't mean that just in terms of your relationship with your municipal side, but also with the state. We're seeing lots of that happen at this time of year. Any questions on budget? Which, as some of you know, I could go on at great length about budget. So.
Budget. I have a whole bunch of questions, but not now. Go ahead.
Not now. All right. Now, these are two that I wanted to mention. They're not in Chapter 71. They're not necessarily written down anywhere, but they're two that really are part of the job of the school committee. And sometimes you can get yourself tangled up in them as school committee members. So I did want to address them. In terms of advocacy, that notion of, you are the governance body for the school district. When it comes to things like decisions that are being made by other governmental bodies that affect what you do as a school committee, and also what happens to the school district, whether that's laws, whether it's stuff that happens at the Board of Education, whether it's stuff that's happening at the federal, the state, the municipal level, wherever it's happening, that is part of your job, right? And Pete gave some examples earlier of ways of interacting with the association. That's certainly one of them. But the relationships that you might have with your legislative bodies, those are all important parts of this. And then the relationships that you maybe have with MASC, with the National School Boards Association, those other kinds of things. And I don't say that just because I work for the association, but because how do you actually connect with policy that's being made at the state level? Sometimes can be a tricky thing at the local level. And that is part of why you actually have those organizations. But again, what's your relationship like with your state legislators? Are there things that are happening in Congress that you should be weighing in on, that your federal legislators should hear from, and so forth? And then in terms of communication, I don't know that I have ever been in a school district and sort of run any kind of a survey where someone didn't bring up communication in some sort of a context. So this is a common discussion. The first thing that I always think is important for school committees to remember is that you get a lot of information from your administration, particularly prior to meetings. Reviewing it is part of the communication thing, right? If it's possible, if you're getting a presentation that is of some depth or some complexity, and you have questions and you know that ahead of time, really nice thing to do is to give the administration a heads up. That doesn't mean you can't ask the question if you haven't thought of it ahead of time, but I will say that you tend to get better answers if you've given them time to prepare. And it may be that they are not going to be able to get you the answer at the meeting, but nonetheless, in terms of, again, that building of relationships and of trust, you're not out there to try to catch them off guard at a school committee meeting, because honestly, that doesn't make anybody look good. And then the other thing, of course, is that as elected officials, you have people communicating to you all the time, right? All the time. And so something that's really important as a elected official and as a member of the committee is, what do you then do with that, right? So if people are sending you things about, here's my opinion about the budget, here's my opinion about a decision that you're making, no harm, no foul. That's absolutely part of your job. But if what you have is your next door neighbor calling you up to complain about the third grade teacher, the first place that always gets redirected is back to the teacher, then to the principal. That's why I'm talking here about the chain of command, making sure that those get redirected. That does not involve you making a phone call to the superintendent, nor taking that parent and connecting them directly to the superintendent. Not how that works. Now, what I will say, like I said earlier about being the ears of the superintendent, if you know that there's a whole lot of muttering that's going on at one particular elementary school about something, that's one where offline you can say to the superintendent, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up, not expecting you to do anything, you don't need to follow up. I'm hearing a lot of this. I don't want you to be caught off guard. I want you to know that that's happening. Those are always good conversations to have with the superintendent. Always really important in your response to a parent, to a constituent, to a neighbor, to anyone, that you don't represent the school district, that you don't represent the school committee, unless you have actually been given that authority in some fashion, right? So there's particular powers that the mayor has by virtue of being chair. In the absence of that, there's particular powers that the vice chair has. You once a year vote a delegate to go to the delegate assembly for the association. That person has the power to represent you in that situation. But for the most part, you don't have the power to show up someplace and say, hey, I'm the Fitchburg School Committee. Not your job. And part of the reason why it's important to have that is because while we all here know and can agree that you actually don't have any authority in those contexts, you do have what the ethics law refers to as sort of an implicit power. It looks like you have power. You can make a threat and have that feel like it could happen or something could happen. And so something to recognize about yourself in your position as a school committee member is it's a hat that doesn't come off. And while you may want to show up at something, a site council meeting, a IEP meeting, a whatever meeting, and be supportive for somebody who you have a close relationship to, you really can't, within your context as a school committee member, do any of those kinds of things. That's not me saying you can't go to a site council meeting. It's a public meeting. But you want to be cautious in your relationships, that you aren't crossing lines in terms of the Ethics Commission, and either seeming like you're showing that you have authority or implicitly exercising power that you shouldn't be exercising. In particular, when you start getting into things like relationships that parents have with the school district, you can kind of get everybody's rights and legal responsibilities tangled up in those situations. So just a sort of a warning sign on that one. When it comes to things like social media, a flag that, you know, you're speaking only for yourself. Also, not pre-deliberating things that are going to be coming before you as a body is a good notion. But always saying, you know, you represent yourself, you're speaking only for yourself, you're not speaking for the committee. Anything on either of those? Advocacy, communication?
Excuse me, just
Yes.
that very last sentence that you said there.
Yeah.
Always realize what? That you're speaking for yourself?
That you're speaking for yourself, you're not speaking on behalf of the committee.
Oh, on behalf of the committee. But frequently we will bring up things that people have brought up to us. And it's...
Yep, although, again, I mean, this is one where, and we're not talking about the business of the school committee in this context, but something to remember is that school committee meetings exist for the business of the district, so you do want to make sure that you're always keeping within the context of the school committee meeting.
Right, I understand now. Mm-hmm.
What else?
Thank you for sharing that information.
You're welcome. And I will be glad to also send you the actual presentation.
Please, I would love to have it.
In part because I agree with you, the font's way too small. It's trying to fit into the decorative red box because I was, you know, attached to trying to make sure that I got your color theme right, and that the MGL won't fit nicely. Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for your expertise and your work.
Thank you, Tracy.
Any questions for Tracy? I know that was a crash course in roles and responsibilities in 30 minutes. I did provide you the document that's on the Mass Association of School Committee website regarding roles and responsibilities for you to read. The link is on top if you want to actually go and see the exact document that this is coming from, but that's for you. If you have questions, let me know. And again, Tracy is always here to answer any questions you may have.
Tracy, I do have another question.
Sure.
And it's serious. Let's say our role as a school committee person, and how extensively can we find out or understand what's going on the level of where ideas are coming from? Like, I don't hear any reference now to local direction. You know, the principle of subsidiarity is if a issue can be handled at the lowest level, that should be handled. If it can't, you go up to ask somebody else to help, et cetera, et cetera. But just what we've experienced in the last decade, I'll say, it seems like who's dictating all this stuff that's changing? Where's it coming from? I have the feeling, I won't speak for anybody else, that things are happening within the school structure, you know, the leadership structure, that ideas are coming down from where? Are they coming from above, like the federal thing actually rules our district? Or does our district have a respect of people? Or are we supposed to just change everything because something's coming down from above? Am I making myself clear?
Yeah, so I think first of all that is always a fair question when something is presented to the school committee of where does this come from. So I mean, one of the conversations we were having, for example, at the policy subcommittee last week was I said, one of the things you can count on me for is I'm going to tell you if this is a federal law, this is a state law, you know, you are required in some measure to have this because there's a state regulation, or you can form this the way that you want to. You should have some sort of a policy that says something about this, but what it says is up to you. And I think that there's a lot of parts of public education that are like that, right? So, for example, I know that there's been sort of flurries in various circles around changes that took place last year around Chapter 222, which was is the suspension law, right? It's the state disciplinary law. There's a lot of people in school districts that don't know that the law changed and started pointing fingers at like superintendents and school committees and principals and all kinds of other things. And it was the state law that changed, right? When there's a state regulation that changes, we try to make sure that you get that. And if you have to change a policy, we make sure that you know. But I mean, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education is pretty invisible to most people. And the fact that they may have made a decision that's going to then impact what's happening may not be something that you always know. I mean, certainly if it's something within your district, that's a conversation to have with the superintendent of like if he's coming out and saying, hey, you know, we're going to change how we're teaching reading, right? Well, there's plenty of discussion and conversations about that happening across the country. There's research about it. There's pressures at the state level, all of that kind of thing. I think that superintendents and MASs tend to sort of buffer as much of that as possible of like, what do you actually need to do? We certainly get some of those conversations ourselves of, you know, we get phone calls that say, we're hearing this, do we actually have to do it? Or is this really a change we need to make? But I mean, I think that those are things that happen.
But you are touching upon the point that I'm talking about. You're saying that if something has changed and now you have to change, so it's coming from somewhere else rather than originating in the district, the local authority.
I think it depends. I mean, I think that there certainly are. We certainly, you know, have seen communities across the country, really, right? Trying to make sure that they're creating policies and creating climates in which all of their various children can thrive. I mean, certainly, I mean, you had a conversation about students who are moving into the district, right, and making sure that you're meeting their needs. Is that a pressure that's coming in from outside? Possibly, but are you responding to a local need? Yes. So I think that both of those things are true, right?
Just a small example is the dropping of the ability for students to write cursive writing. And many of us bemoan the day that students could only print and they could not write cursive. And yet, for however many years, it left the teaching, you know, being presented in school. And now it's coming back because California is starting it back. I mean, I don't like this going with every kind of wind of the day, you know what I'm saying? I'd like to know.
Well, I will say that as someone who's spent probably, I guess, the last 30 or so years of my life in public education, we do tend to have a little bit of a pendulum, right? I will also say that I think that I mean, how often do any of us go on social media and see somebody else who's saying, well, you need to have schools teach X, right? It's always like schools need to be teaching whatever it is. I think ironing was something I saw recently, sewing, financial management, taxes, whatever, cursive comes up. We do have to be sensitive to the fact that there are, I think, an unprecedented number of things that schools are now responsible for. And ultimately, what schools definitely have to respond to is the state standards, right? We don't have any choice there. And as judged by not just MCAS, but the rest of our accountability data. So what we do additional to that, like, the state doesn't have a state standard on any kind of handwriting. And then I think all school districts are doing a balance of, you know, you had a great question of sort of what did you learn from that you see yourself using as an adult, right? Those balances of how do we make sure that we're actually preparing kids for what they're going to do as adults.
One of the things, Rosemary, I think we need to make ourselves more aware of curriculum changes that are taking place because we are responsible for any major curriculum change in the system.
Major changes,
Yep,
yes.
Major changes, which, you know, if they're going to be changing something, we need to approve it, like we did with the the reading program a couple of years ago. Right. Yeah. So.
And most of the time, that's a budgetary allocation too, right? Let's be honest.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Great.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you very much.
Tracy, if we would like you to come back in the future, is that something we can set up with you?
I would be glad to come back. I'm always happy to come up here.
Thank
you.
Nice to see you.
Thanks a lot. All right. A few more items for me, and then I'll hand it back over to our mayor. So I have a few budget items this evening. The first one is donations. I have two. The first donation is from Steve, and I'm going to probably butcher his last name. I think it's Ciccolini.
That's right.
Good. I'm glad that I did that correctly. The Steve Ciccolini Program and Education Memorial Fund in the estimated value of $10,000 to $15,000 to provide musical instruments for our middle and high school programs.
Amazing.
Okay, Steve and his organization will actually be here next week, or I'm sorry, our next school committee on March 18th to present to us and talk a little bit about the donation. So they'll be coming in, but we need to approve it first so they can come in and talk about that. And then,
Mr. Superintendent, just I went to high school with Steve at
Oh, you
St.
did?
Bernard's, and
Awesome.
Steve played a really mean saxophone.
Oh, okay.
And Steve was the kind of person who, no matter when you saw him, he was always smiling, and you always felt better. And he passed away due to
Oh, I
COVID.
apologize. Okay.
Yeah, no, and so, but Steve is, his passion for music continues, and I'm really happy to see this
Yeah.
as being.
So a representative from his organization will be here on March 18th to talk about this. So thank you for clarifying. The second is a donation from Sodexo, our food service program, in the amount of $1,000 to support students, to support student activities at Fitchburg High School. Okay? So those are two donations for acceptance for this evening. And then I have three grants to discuss this evening. The first grant is permission to submit. The first grant is a Title III grant called Immigrant Children and Youth Grant. Because we have immigrant students in Fitchburg, we are able to apply for this grant in the amount of $33,864,000. This will provide supplemental resources to Fitchburg to provide enhanced instructional opportunities for immigrant children and youth. And there are no reporting requirements associated with this. They're just funds. So that's permission to submit. We're looking for that this evening. And then we have two grants to accept this evening. The first grant is the Genocide Education Grant in the amount of $40,000. This grant will provide three options for Fitchburg. The first option is to provide our teachers at Fitchburg High School professional development for teaching the genocide curriculum. In addition to that, it will also purchase high-quality instructional materials for these teachers. And then the last is to actually send our students to the genocide synopsis that will be at Groton Dunstable High School coming up. And then there also will I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. It also will provide an opportunity for us to have guest speakers and also field trips for our high school students. Okay? And the only data collection requirement for us that we have to report back is to do some data collection around the curriculum that we are using for this. All right? And then the last is actually a correction. You did approve this already last meeting, but it was written incorrectly. This is for the Behavioral Health Support Grant that we received. Last time you approved it, it said only $1,000. I'm sorry, $100,000. But this is actually $300,000 over 3 years. So we're going to get $100,000 for the next 3 years on this grant. Okay.
This is the behavioral health support.
This is the behavioral health support that we are going to use for, let me make sure I get that correct for you. That's going to help us with the assessment to look at how our students are doing. It's also going to be able to provide some professional development for our teachers. Any questions on that?
Thank you.
That's all. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Superintendent Thompson. All right, so we have action items, number 8 on our agenda. So we have action item 24-362 on our agenda. and number 23-24, to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve Glenda Colon as Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning. Now, we are planning on discussing this in executive session, so
Correct, and then coming back for...
would the proper motion for this to be to lay this on the table or to hold this?
We're going to go into executive session.
Yeah,
Right.
so should we?
We'll vote to go into executive session, and we'll discuss it and come back, and then we'll vote on it in open session. There'll be no vote taken during executive session. But I was going to suggest we could take
them out of order?
We could take 363 through 366, bundle them, and then go into executive session.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Do we have?
I'll make that motion that we bundle 363 through 366.
Second.
Okay, motion second to bundle 363 through 366.
I'll make a motion to accept 363 through 366.
Do we, we'll take it by unanimous consent on the bundle? Yes. Okay, we've bundled that, yes.
Okay, and I make a motion that we accept 363 through
Mr. Mayor,
366.
Mrs. Mayor.
Yep.
I'm a little uncomfortable with you so quickly saying, may I have a unanimous decision on that? I don't know how you, what do you quickly stand?
Ms. Rosemary, Ms. Reynolds, you can request a roll call vote if you prefer a roll call vote.
Well, I just feel that, I don't know if you're glancing at everybody or whatever. Yeah, I would prefer a roll call vote.
Okay.
Just for clarity.
Sure. Would you like a roll call vote on the bundle, or would you like a roll call vote on the motion to approve?
Or even a show of hands. It doesn't need to be a roll call vote, but I don't know what your criteria is to say that we're all, in agreement.
You just saying if
could be a show of
nobody
hands.
objects to the unanimous
consent.
I know, but I understand, but that happens so quickly. I don't know if you're just glancing to your left. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A show of hands would be.
Yeah.
Okay, that's noted. Thank you.
Sorry. I just want to make sure I'm clear that the bundle is not including
Does not include
item
it.
24, 362, number 23, 24? That's not.
That's correct. The bundle is from 363 to 366.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so we have a motion for approval on the bundle.
Second.
Motion to approve.
Motion and second on approval. We can have a show of hands for approval? Okay, that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, now we will take this out of order and we will move into executive
Just
session.
go into executive session now.
Yes, we'll take the agenda out of order to go into executive session.
Yep. And we'll, Mrs. Greenlee will take, we have a motion to go into executive session, Mrs. Greenlee.
Right, and so we will reconvene in open session.
We need her to take the roll call.
Well, just to state, we will reconvene in open session after the executive session has ended to take action on 24-362. Okay, so we have a...
Was there a second on going into executive session?
No.
Oh, roll call, okay.
Yes, we...
You're ready for the roll call vote now?
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Squalia.
Aye.
To enter executive session?
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mrs. Reynolds?
Yes.
Dr. Knight?
Yes.
Mrs. Jeffries?
Yes.
Mrs. England?
Yes.
We are unanimous to enter executive session.
Okay, thank you. We will move into executive session at this time. So I'd ask that all members of the public body remain, and everyone else please clear the chambers. Thank you. Okay, FATV is ready. So we are back in open session, and we have before us Action item number 8, 24-362.
I'll make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve Glenda Cologne as Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning July 1st, 2024 for 3 years, ending on June 30th, 2027.
Second.
We have a motion and second to accept the superintendent's recommendation. So we will take this by roll call vote.
Yes, thank you. Mayor Squalia?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Reynolds?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Knight?
No.
Thank you. Mrs. Jeffries?
No.
Thank you. Mrs. England?
Yes.
Thank you. The vote is 5 yes, 2 no.
Okay. That
Make a motion for
Passes.
adjournment.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to adjourn. We'll take this by unanimous consent. Do we need a show of hands? Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you.